Hi,
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry I'm running a little bit late. It's been a day. Let me get this stuff pulled out. Yeah, I got a new job
Oh,
and it
nice.
was my first day and they welcomed me by holding me 20 minutes after I was supposed to leave. So,
Awesome.
hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Hopefully everybody remembered we changed the
Yeah,
time.
6 o'clock.
I barely did.
Yeah, I remembered, but I drove all the way to a class that the teacher just handed out a take-home quiz and then sent us home. So
Oh.
drove all the way there for no reason.
That's the worst. Like just cancel. Just cancel.
Yeah, put it on an email and send it out. The
Right.
take-home quiz.
I will print it out myself.
hmm
Yeah. Or like, I don't know. I would get so annoyed when we would like come in to turn in a paper. And it's like, I get it, you want a paper copy, but like, come on. And it always
Right.
seems to be like the furthest class too.
hmm
Never one that's like a super easy to get to.
hmm
And the recording again. All right. Should
Okay.
All right, so we're talking about the why do meteorologists never apologize? So hopefully everybody read that. So, what are the risks of not acknowledging mistakes or transgressions in families, intimate relationships, or work settings?
I've
Well, I think
said,
all of those have different answers
Except
for
for
why.
the
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, general, it just could prolong the issue
Yeah.
getting resolved, or people could hold resentment towards somebody else if they know they did something wrong, but they're not apologizing for it.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Like add tension.
I think especially in work conditions that kind of affects how you like do your job too. So it, like most of the time if it's like a work dispute, it's something that is like a reoccurring like part of your job. So in order to like to do a good job that needs to be resolved or at least like acknowledged and talked about.
Yeah, or you're less effective. Is that what you're saying?
For what? Say that
Are you
again?
saying? Are you saying like the person would be less effective, or one person in the party that's would be less effective in the workplace?
Uh, I mean, I think in a workplace, like, I guess it kind of depends too if it's between like customer and employee or like employee and boss. But I feel like if it's like a conflict between your, like, you as an employee, something you did yesterday, and your boss, like, making, like, if your boss, like, makes a comment about it, if you don't address that, then, you know,
Mm,
you might still be doing something like wrong or like incorrectly according to them.
I got you.
And then they're still like, you know, seeing you do something wrong and then it never gets fixed and then you continue doing your job like incorrectly or you know something like that.
Gotcha.
I've
That
definitely
makes sense.
had supervisors at various jobs that think that if they admit that they made a mistake, that they'll be less respected or like it'll make them look weak. And I definitely like see where they're coming from on that, but at the same time, like as an employee, I appreciate honesty. And I think most employees do. Like, they would rather have somebody who could own up and make a mistake, especially if it affects somebody else's work, than they
Yeah.
would somebody who, you know, even if they know they made a problem or made a mistake, then they go and fix it, like, quietly. Like, yeah, that's technically effective, but I think most employees respect a supervisor who does admit their mistakes, more than they do someone who kind of tries to pretend to be perfect.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I also definitely see why, like, a business as a whole, as opposed to like individuals within it, would not want to admit that they made a mistake. I have a story about this, but I'll wait until number 5. But in terms of like a PR standpoint, I definitely get it. Like, it might not, you know, if no one knows about a mistake, it's better not to admit it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think if it's something that can like build up resentment or just like make a situation like tense, that's going to affect like how you like continue to do whatever you're doing daily.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing you'd want to like address, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, number 2 is, when might it be appropriate and even beneficial to use this strategy?
I said, or was thinking, if you were misinterpreted, like someone misinterpreted what you did, and I guess you don't have to apologize. If you could just explain yourself rather than apologize, I guess, if your actions were misinterpreted.
Definitely.
That's so true.
Yeah. I definitely see it happening with parents a lot. So, you know, they do something that they regret, or they make a mistake, and, you know, they might not admit that because it's like a respect thing, which I feel like when you're dealing with like young kids, maybe isn't the worst thing.
Yeah.
A parent's like kind of a sense of stability in a young kid's life, or at least ideally they are. So knowing that your parent is fallible at a young age, I feel like might make people feel insecure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of examples, but I can't like
Yeah, me too.
it's I don't know. Sorry there's like a storm going on. Like I don't know. Did not happen, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of like when in like a romantic relationship you would want to like not like admit that you did something wrong, but I don't know. Like maybe if it's something that was already like fixed, you know, like okay, you know what? I might move. Carry on with it.
No, that makes sense. Like, I've definitely had situations where like I didn't know how to do something or was taught incorrectly, and like continued to do it that way. And so like when somebody was looking over the work that I did, like they saw those mistakes, but we didn't really acknowledge it because we knew that it was because of that incorrect training, and that it wasn't going to be an issue anymore.
Yeah, like so if something's already fixed, then it's fine.
Right. Also, maybe like this is kind of niche, but maybe like in terms of a romantic relationship, if like say you were trying to keep, like if you were keeping a secret or something, so like For my half-year anniversary with my boyfriend, we went to Chicago, and I like planned this whole trip. I paid for the gas. I booked an Airbnb. I planned some stuff for us to do, and then one of our activities got canceled, and I just didn't tell him about it because I didn't want him to be like disappointed that we didn't get to do this fun thing. So I mean, like, yeah, it was a mistake, but knowing about it would have bummed him out, and not knowing about it didn't hurt him, you know? Andrea, are you frozen? Well, keep going.
Oh yeah.
I feel bad.
Um.
Yeah, I guess we'll power through and see if her connection comes back. Is she frozen for you guys too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does a person's status affect his or her ability to rely on this strategy?
I mean, the meteorologists do it, so their status kind of just enables them to do it.
Yeah, definitely jobs have an impact.
Yeah, I think your status definitely affects it because also it kind of like determines like how much like credibility you have depending on your status. So obviously someone in like a lower status is going to be different, and like I feel like people are going to expect them to apologize more than someone in a higher status.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but I was also thinking if someone in like if an executive within a company doesn't, I mean, he doesn't have to apologize really for anything, but he'll just like lose respect,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, then he won't have as strong of a, people won't look up to him as much, I guess. Or like,
Yeah,
that was the first thing that I thought of though, too.
Yeah, and I think even just having the status to be able to avoid admitting mistakes. Because I mean, if you're a supervisor and your like employee made a mistake, then you can force them to talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you can create a situation where that's unavoidable. Whereas if you're an employee, like, you may not even have the authority to ask a supervisor, let alone force them into that situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Andrea, sorry, we moved on. But we're on number 3. So do you have any opinion on whether a person's status affects his or her ability to rely on this strategy? Are you guys hearing it?
No, I can't hear any like audio.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we're not getting audio from you. I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix it. Just sent a frowny face. Okay. Well, we'll move on, and I'm sure she'll get it figured out. So number 4 is, what are the consequences if this strategy is used in situations where others clearly see it as inappropriate?
Damage relationships,
For sure.
friends or anybody, coworkers, family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it like relates to what we were just talking about, where you like would lose respect for someone
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think respect is probably the biggest like loss that you would have.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, in any healthy relationship, workplace, whatever, like, making a mistake shouldn't be the end of the world. So, like, not being able to admit it just kind of makes you seem cowardly, or I don't know, just, I don't know, weak. I would see somebody like,
Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
weak.
it's
same
harder to own up to your mistakes than it is to just write them off. So
Yeah.
definitely taking the easy way out.
Hello.
Hey.
Oh, hi. I don't have anything to say this time, but at least I got it working.
Okay. So do you have opinions on the consequences if this strategy is used in situations where others clearly see it as inappropriate?
I mean, I feel like in personal relationships, it's easy to like a mistake that you made it maybe isn't a big deal to you, and it could turn into something where it's the other person isn't mad about the mistake, but more about the fact that you don't seem to care about it. You know, I don't like. I feel like with my parents, like when I was younger in school and didn't do my homework, it wasn't really a big deal because it's like you're in school, homework isn't really that big of a deal in like freshman year, you know. But to them, it was more of a like you're not doing your work, and it turned into this bigger thing that was not even about the initial like I wasn't going to bring up that conflict, but it turned into this bigger thing.
Right. For sure. And then finally, do you have any personal experience with this strategy? Have you employed it, or has someone else employed it with you?
Yeah, I do.
Go for it, man. Spin your saga.
I'll try to keep it short. I used to work for this land surveying company in Denver, where it's pretty much a bunch of guys just go out and stake like where like roads are going to be, where the sewer pipes are going to be, water pipes, like new developments and housing development. And the engineers send over like the coordinates for the points, like because they have to like construct the sewer systems, you know, to make sure everything flows well and whatever. But one of the kids that was calcing the engineers' points, because the engineers send over the points and the kid calcs them in the system, he was using like, I forget exactly what it was, but the complete wrong elevations for every point. And he did it for like a week. And then he found out he was doing it wrong, but didn't say anything. And how it works is these points get calced in the system in like AutoCAD. And then the surveyors they might not go out for like a month. But when the month rolled around, they staked all the wrong things. Everything got built, like it was sidewalk or something. And then even though he knew he was doing it wrong for that whole 2 weeks, every day, that's all he was doing, he never told anybody or never went back and fixed it. So now they staked out everything wrong, and then the concrete guys poured everything wrong, and then it all had to be torn up, and the company that I worked for ultimately had to pay for it. But
Oh my
he
goodness.
just kind of avoided it and never really just like came forth and said, those points are all wrong. Don't stake
Right.
those out.
Wow.
And he got fired. But
Wow, yeah. Whereas if originally he had said that he made a mistake, you
yeah,
know,
it'd been
he might have
easy.
gotten a
Like,
slap on the wrist, but
yeah,
not fired.
yeah.
And
That's the only thing I could really think of that came to mind.
yeah. So I work for a like concert promoter basically. So they like make concerts happen. They work between the venues and the artists to put on shows. And we had a show that 2 days before the show, we realized that we needed to move venues. Unfortunately, the only venue that was available was a good 2 hours away from the original venue. So when we announced it, people were pissed. They were not okay about it. A lot of people wrote in saying that, you know, they expected us to refund their hotel costs. We obviously refunded tickets for people who couldn't go. Like, we're not monsters. but people were asking us to refund their flights and their hotels and all of this stuff. And so technically, like from a very on paper standpoint, it was our decision to move it. But what happened was the band promised us that they could sell a certain number of tickets and did not even come close to that number. So we would have lost about 10 grand on that show if we had stayed at the original venue, and the band would have walked away with nothing. They wouldn't have gotten paid for the show at all. So it was technically our decision, but our hand was kind of forced. But we can't explain that to people. Like, we can't talk about profits like that to an average consumer. So we honestly passed the buck and said that it was the band's decision. It wasn't their decision. It was kind of their fault. And we definitely felt bad for misleading people. But by admitting that you made a mistake, you kind of admit to some portion of responsibility for that mistake. And so, like, if we had said, like, yeah, it was our choice, then we potentially could have been liable for those people's hotel costs and flights and all of that, when in reality, like, we were never going to pay for that. Like, it's not, that's not our responsibility. But if we had admitted that it was our choice, then they could have interpreted it as we should have to pay for those things. So it sucked, and we felt bad for lying to people, but ultimately, like, it was our choice, but it was really out of our hands.
Yeah,
Was this recently?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Was this the Sunno show that was supposed to be at our company? I was so curious about what the heck happened.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. I just started working there and had to deal with this PR nightmare. But yeah.
That's horrible. Because I was like, wow, that sounds like so like unique and interesting to have a band like play there, and like that's so cool.
Yeah, we were super stoked for the show, but like the band just did not come through with what they promised.
I thought that was gonna like sell out. Like, that's crazy.
Even close. Yeah, it was pretty sad. So yeah, we felt really bad, but most people were just kind of like, hey, I want a refund, and that was obviously fine. They just wanted it.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, but that's what being in the concert business is like, there's so many moving parts that like putting the blame on a single person is just really difficult. Like,
how did the concert go after the 1 to 2 hours away?
But we ended up like making money, and the band got paid and all that. So, you know, it sucked for a lot of people, but it was the right decision.
Yeah.
But I think we only refunded like 10% of the tickets that we sold. So like,
wow,
it really was like a lot of people managed to make it work. So,
that's
and
cool.
I think there was one woman that we actually did refund her hotel because she was so cranky about it.
I mean, yeah, people are coming from like far away. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. No, I would be pissed if it happened to me. Yeah. That's what we tried to like put in our emails, is like, hey, we're like music lovers too. Like, we absolutely get it. We're super sorry. We get it, you know?
Yeah.
So fun stuff. Does anybody else have stories?
I feel like the only thing that can kind of like come to mind for me is just like my work, just because my boss has like so much power, and like I've talked about before, they're like super quick to firing people. So it's kind of like, if they make a mistake, like a lot of the times, like if people have certain availability, they'll like forget and then schedule you anyways on days that you like can't work and have told them that and stuff. And like, instead of them being like, oh, like, I'm sorry, whatever, I'll get it fixed, they're kind of like, well, you're technically not doing anything, so you should be able to come into work or like find someone to cover you. And I feel like it just kind of like stresses out a lot of people, because like we don't really, like, if we say anything, they're going to be like, they honestly might fire us or not schedule us. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I just feel like my bosses honestly don't ever apologize for anything. Like, everything is our fault, because like in their minds, we're just like easily replaceable. So.
Right. And that's got to be super stressful for you.
Oh yeah. Like, yeah, I love my job, but at the same time, it's rough.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
All
Wow.
right. we are more than good on time, so we want
We
to.
should just try to get some of those sources, send them or to the chat or
Yeah.
something or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking about like having like 3 sources each would be good. And like at least probably 2 of those being